Hi, welcome to Safer F Stories, Episode 3. I'm Ivy Ho, and I support Safer F with communications and change. Today, I'm chatting with Erin Landry, a registered nurse at Valley Regional Hospital. Erin is in a unique position of having experienced phase one and implementation of Safer F with one unit, and is currently into phase two implementation with another unit. So, we're going to talk more about that. So, welcome, Erin. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So take me back to phase one. What was your experience with Safer F, like being brand new to it? What were some of the challenges? Let's start there.
Sure. It was very overwhelming. We'll just start there. Um, it was brand new to me. Quality improvement in general was fairly new to me. Acronyms such as PDSA, I had no idea what that meant to start with. And during the time, I think during the year that we were in the phase, we had three different managers during that time, so it was challenging. Staffing, as I'm sure it was across the whole province, was a challenge. So just being able to even find the time to dedicate to Safe Ref, we found to be a big challenge. And so yeah, it was overwhelming to begin with. But once we kind of started digging into it, we really did start to see some of the benefits. We started seeing great success, but really, it was just kind of getting up and going was the biggest challenge, I think. But once we started picking away at the pieces and putting it all together, that's where we started to ultimately see quite a bit of success.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned, the acronyms and staffing, and it all being overwhelmed because it's something brand new that you're learning. I think we've heard that across the board. So you're not alone in that in that situation. But I know that you mentioned some of the challenges, but what are some of the rewarding aspects of learning Safer F? And you kind of touched on the benefits. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Once we started working towards, through the pieces of everything, y- we started really one of the our PDSA cycles was focusing on our barriers to discharge, and so for example, in our bullet rounds, we they kind of were very storytelling, but once we kind of started honing in on those barriers to discharge, it kind of helped change the whole conversations that we were having on the units, and the interdisciplinary team became involved, and we all kind of everybody started kind of taking on that new language of the barriers to discharge, working towards those, and ultimately, we started to see more discharges. And in a unit where we maybe had, if we had 10 discharges in a week, that was a good week. We started seeing, 15, even 20 discharges in a week.
Wow.
So yeah, those were definitely some successes that we had.
Great. And I think that is one of the great benefits of SaferF. It really does help you identify those barriers to discharge and helping to, get over those hurdles to make sure that discharge is kind of like the one of the focuses of the healthcare that you provide. Yeah. So, okay. So you move from one unit that is further along in phase one, and then you move over to another unit. So you enter phase two implementation with a new unit. What do you see as the differences between phase one and phase two? Can you talk about that a little?
So I think I was at a huge advantage going to the next unit to help them with the implementation, because I already kind of had this understanding of what SafeRef was, and also kind of realizing that, okay, yes, it's this, it's all of these concepts and all of these things, but we just need to kind of start picking at them bit by bit. And so that's really kind of helped the transition, because I've come with that experience and been able to kind of share that with the team. So when they think, okay, well, let's do this, I think I kind of say, okay, well, maybe we should start with this piece first before we get to that bigger piece, kind of thing. Um, and and I think also just learning, with the in-person learning sessions, that wasn't something that I was a part of until much later into the first phase. I don't think I attended my first one until maybe even, I think it was April or spring or something. Um, and so just kind of recognizing the importance of those in-person learning sessions has helped to then kind of encourage the rest of the team to kind of be involved right from the get-go.
Hmm. Yeah, the advantage of being in the first phase and being in the second phase, like you almost took on that mentorship kind of position, even if you don't say it yourself. I think I see that and see that in you. So I think your unit probably really benefit from that, from your experience. Um, so what are some of the main improvements that you've learned, as in what worked, what didn't, what are you doing differently with phase two? Can you give me some examples?
Sure. So again, just kind of, I think I kind of mentioned a bit about kind of trying to just hone in on smaller pieces to work on at first instead of taking on too much at once.
Hmm.
Um, as well as in the first phase, it wasn't until we really got our charge nurses involved that we started to see such great success. And so once we got them coming to the in-person learning sessions as well, that really helped. So that has then expanded more into this phase where we've realized, well, really, we should have been having more of the team come and be involved in as much as we can. So we've actually, in the last in-person session, we were able to have one of our OT and one of our PT join, which has significantly helped to kind of get everybody involved and make them feel like they're a part of it as well, instead of just trying to kind of work away at it, myself and the manager or myself and the charge nurses. So that's definitely been an improvement in trying to make those the all the learning sessions as accessible to the rest of the team as well.
Okay. Well, I have a little extra question here because you touched on something like the in-person learning. It sounds like it really helped with the buy-in, of the so that the whole team is on board because they're actually seeing what other teams are doing, what other units are doing, and that it's almost like a group learning kind of situation. Well, it is a group learning situation, but it really does help with that buy-in. Am I accurate or
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, I've definitely found that. We can go and talk about Safer F all we want, but it's not until I find that staff actually come and be a part of one of the learning sessions. They're like, "Oh yeah, that does make
Hmm.
sense," or "Oh, I understand
Yeah.
what you're talking about now." When it's those expert people kind of sharing the information and getting people involved, and then seeing what the other units have done and the successes they've had, I think it's really helpful.
Great, great. So, without mentioning any patient identifying information, can you tell me about a time when a patient was waiting for care and the wait really affected their care and outcome? And the second part of this question is like, do you think SafeRef would have helped in that situation if it had been in place at the time?
Sure. So I think we all know patient stories of patients waiting in hospital, and unfortunately during that time they develop COVID. That seems very common nowadays, unfortunately. Or they have a fall and break their hip. I think of we've had a lot of complex patients lately. They come in into hospital for one reason, but they have many other layers to them, right? Other comorbidities, social factors, um, and that just adds to the layers on the patient. And so I feel like sometimes in the past, maybe the interdisciplinary teams have been involved. We've, maybe PT, OT, social work, continuing care, they're all involved in the patient's care, but they're all kind of working on their own little piece, right?
Hmm.
Maybe not bringing it all together. So I feel like Safer F has kind of helped bring that together, especially with the bullet rounds, and then we have complex case rounds now too as well, which has helped. So I actually can think of a specific example, which I don't want to share too many details, but where we had a patient who had a lot of complexities to their care, lots of the interdisciplinary team involved, and it wasn't I remember coming back from one of the learning sessions and talking with one of the other people who had been there with us, kind of looking at, okay, what are we trying to get to with this patient? How are we going to get them home? They'd been here for quite a while, and once we kind of sat down and kind of hashed through some of it with the team and looked at, okay, we were thinking of the patient going home in this way, but what if we could get them home in a different way? And then after having the conversation with the patient and the team, and really kind of honing in on the details of it, looking at what the patient was willing to accept for risks as well after going home and kind of trying to work through some of those. We were able to set an EDD for the patient, and kind of got the whole team on board with the plan. There's still lots of work to be done to get there, but in the meantime, the patient became motivated. The team all kind of had a direct, everybody had a plan on what it was going to look like and what we needed to do. And the EDD that we set for the patient, we actually were able to get them home 2 weeks before that.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
impressive.
kind of a whole, I think that maybe answers your question in one story.
It does. I mean, I know not every scenario is like that, but I mean, it really does show the a concrete example of how SaferF could affect patient care and their stay in the hospital. So that's amazing. Sorry, I cut you off. Do you have anything
That's
else
okay.
to add to
No,
that?
no, that's okay. I think that was definitely that definitely helped kind of really bring it to light on how much it can help a patient. And
Mhm.
ultimately, the patient went home. They were happy,
Of
and
course.
they were very excited to go home, motivated to go home, and yeah, it worked out very well for them.
That's great. That's great. And it's a wonderful example of SaferF and how it could affect patients. My last question is, do you have anything else to add or final words or any words of advice for upcoming SaferF units?
I think it's just to be willing and open, and try to. I really do recommend going to the in-person learning sessions. I think it really helps, and yeah, every little bit that you can do to kind of work away at the safer F, it's making a difference, and yeah, I'm not sure what else to say.
Oh, no, that's perfect. That was great advice. I really do appreciate your time, Erin. Yeah, and all the best and continuing your learning journey with SaferF. I really appreciate your time being here with me today. So, yeah, I was talking to Erin Landry, a registered nurse with Valley Regional Hospital, about her experiences with phase 1 and phase 2 of Safer F implementation. And thanks for listening to Safer F Stories podcast, and look for upcoming episodes on the Safer F YouTube channel. Thanks.